My tactics were flawless and my rolls were great, and yet my ninny warlock lies bleeding out doing death saves.
Yeah, that's the power of Hunter sense combined with Hunter's mark.
You should just be playing fire with a bow. It's way better, pony boy.
Don't be dissing my ranger!
Can someone please get me a healing potion so we can save the Winter City from reincarnated Glendale and Certain Doom?
Yes, when it's my turn, absolutely.
Oh, for the love of Robus. How do we end up playing this anyway?
Funny you should ask. This video is brought to you by Dungeons & Dorkheads, the new D&D show from Headhunter Productions that is so underrated it should be a crime. The Idea campaign features its own original setting, an entirely original story, and a fantastic cast of characters. Zach, the warlock clown who knows literally everything. Nicholas, the level-headed elf. Sandra, the deer girl with all the bad ideas. Elizabeth, the rogue with no spells but casts Shadow Blade anyway because she's awesome. And Arya, who's also in the show. Join them and our Dungeon Master, the Grand Weaver, as we venture across the continent of Idea and beyond. The link to the playlist is down below in the video description. Or you could also watch that other video linked down there, Dungeons & Dorkheads, episode 1 through 9 recap, just in case you want to jump right in when the story starts getting good.
So is this just gonna be the whole channel now?
No, but it's here to stay. And we do have a movie review today, so let's get right into it. Right after this 5-hour session.
I can get into this.
Hello, my name is Hunter, the movie reviewing horse, because when it comes to cinema, humans cannot be trusted. And apparently now, neither can prop guns. How do you mix up fake ammunition with real ammunition? Let's just hope it didn't affect today's movie. 007, the man synonymous with the spy flick. Ever since 1962, James Bond has graced the silver screen with his presence. From Sean Connery to Roger Moore to Timothy Dalton to Pierce Brosnan, many faces have shared the name of Bond. James Bond. Only one problem. Daniel Craig James Bond fucking sucks.
How many angry comments are you trying to get with this one?
Relax. I'm going somewhere with this. The Daniel Craig movies decided to take Bond in a completely different and garbage direction by turning him into the most boring spy the world has ever known. Gone are the days of the guy who's trying to start a war for ratings on his news network, or the guy who's hijacking spaceships to try and ignite the Cold War from his secret base in a volcano. That's actually the plot of You Only Live Twice. Somehow they found a way to make the gadgets boring. Skyfall has that scene where the guy comes out, he's like, here's a gun that only you can fire. Oh, what? Did you think we were gonna give you an exploding pen? Yes! What happened to the old Q who would come out and be like, oh, 007, it's your new car, the Aston Martin V12 billion. It's got 1,000,000 horsepower. It's invisible, and it's got cannons. And here's a cell phone that can drive your car and a remote control spider robot that explodes. Casino Royale was stupid, Quantum of Solace was actually bad, Skyfall ruined the franchise, and I didn't even watch Spectre. They started making the storylines convoluted and garbage. Nobody knows how to follow a James Bond movie anymore. Can we please go back to the fun plans? Like stealing space shuttles? Okay. We only have to get through one more Daniel Craig movie, and then hopefully we can move on to something better. So, go ahead, No Time to Die. Impress me. The last Daniel Craig Bond film. Could this be the one to save them all? Trailers for this started back in 2019, because it was supposed to come out in 2019. And then it got postponed to February 2020. And then March. And then April. And then sometime in November. And then January. And then October of 2021. MGM didn't want a streaming service. By golly, they threw $300 million at this movie. COVID wasn't about to ruin their profit margins. Honestly, these delays got to the point where it was kind of annoying. I was actually ready to finally pull the trigger on my first Bond review, and then they kept delaying it. One thing they also weren't clear about is that I definitely should have watched Spectre before watching this one. Because for some reason that I can't fathom, the Craig movies are trying to tell a continuous story. The Bond movies have never fucking done that, though. Like, they've done that in extremely small instances before, sure, but they were ultimately unimportant to the plot. This movie, on the other hand, is like, oh, what, you didn't watch Spectre? What's wrong with you? Well, I guess you'll never know who this is, or this person, or who all of these people are. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to review American Sniper and The Dog Who Saved Halloween. And I'll be honest, Skyfall left me in a bad mood. All the other critics are like, oh, but Skyfall is the best Bond movie in ages. And I mean, who are you going to believe? Them who get bribed to give movies 10 out of 10, or me, someone who tactically did not get to see this movie early because I tend to actually critique stuff every now and then. I'm not afraid to tell you how it is, and that's also why I'm not afraid to tell you that Skyfall is one of my least favorite Bond films. This is why Kingsman was such a breath of fresh air for me, because they had cigarette lighters that were actually hand grenades. And you still had scenes where they would go out and beat the shit out of everybody. Can we please get James Bond to go back to those old days? The old days when it was actually fun to watch James Bond? So, MGM made me delay this review for 2 years. Are all of the critics being frickin' stupid again? No, they're actually kind of right on this one. This one was okay. Don't get me wrong, I still miss the old stuff, but this was an improvement over what we've been getting. I'm still not over Quantum of Solace. I mean, the watch doesn't shoot lasers, but it does make security cameras stop working. And the car has machine guns, or at least one of them does, but at the same time, Craig Bond is still weighed down by all that troubled past garbage. Because someone thought that that would be a great idea. The cinematics were good, though. This movie is beautifully shot. The cinematographer for Craig Bond movies decided to go in a much more artsy direction. Which I have to admit makes the movie look good, even if I despise it. And when the movie does manage to get its feely garbage and stuff out of the way, it's actually kind of fun, if a bit slow. This movie is almost 3 hours long. There's enough action in this movie to keep people entertained, even if there's a huge swath in the middle of this movie where pretty much nothing happens. I'm not saying a movie can't have those, but they tend to be shorter and spaced out. And our villain this time, our Bond villain. Oh, fuck this guy. I hate him. I hate this villain. This is a bad villain. I love the actor. I hate the villain. Rami Malek does play a good Bond villain, but I hate the villain himself. He's kind of petty, he talks slow, and his motives are really, really vague. We discover that he wants to use nanomachines to kill millions of people, but why? There's also 2 scenes in this movie, back to back, where one of the agents has a hostage and our main villain has a hostage, and he lets his hostage go, and then she kills hers. So suddenly we've reached the part of the movie where everyone just decides to give up their bargaining chips. And then a little bit after that, Rami Malek dies, but it's not like a really good Bond villain death, I feel. Bond just kind of shoots him in the face a bunch of times because he's absolutely done with his shit. It's like, no, Rami Malek, you don't get the cool Bond villain death. You and your creepy eyes, because Rami Malek has creepy eyes. It's also around the same time that this is happening. This is the end of the movie, by the way. Like, in the final act of the movie, a whole bunch of shit just falls apart. There's also this, like, subplot going on where the Russians are asking questions, and there's the threat of war going on, and then the movie just kind of doesn't do anything with that. It just ends, because that's the end of the movie. What, is that just something for the next Bond to deal with? What the crap? I swear to God, if I come back in 5 years and Matt Smith has to deal with the Russians declaring war on England, I'm going to be kind of upset about that. Also, furthermore, I'm going to be upset if it's not Matt Smith. Like, come on, he'd be a great Bond! Even if he has something else going on right now. Fuck it. He has something else going on right now. I don't know. It was in the previews for this movie, so it is kind of relevant. Relevant to the most boring James Bond ever made. I don't know. Like, if you wanted to make Bond less misogynistic, that's fine. More power to you. In fact, I encourage it. That is something we should work to get rid of. Bond has been around long enough that he has some tendencies that aren't socially acceptable anymore. And we should work past that. There's a lot of things that the character of James Bond needs to work out because he's been around for, 80 years now? Long time. But somewhere in the process of trying to fix all of his issues, we made him boring. He's boring. They're trying to make James Bond more likable to the current generation of moviegoers, and it hasn't really worked out. Or at least in my opinion, I don't know, maybe it has. And that's where this movie comes in. It feels like this movie is trying to lean away from the mistakes they made with the previous Craig movies. It's a lot more engaging. Bond doesn't have the personality of a cardboard box. And he's more grounded. He has more to lose in this one. But at the same time, it's more high-octane than the previous ones, which is something that Daniel Craig Bond was severely lacking. This is one of those movies that doesn't really need to have an insane story. It just needs to be fun. And this one's a bit of a 50-50 split between those two. Sort of feels like they're leaning away from the dark and brooding, boring James Bond, and we're sort of trying to get back to normal, or a new, better formula that we could use for future James Bond movies. Because Hollywood directors seem to have it in their head that nobody wants the kooky villain hiding in a volcano lair stroking a white cat. Which is fun, but it looks like nobody thought the same way I did. And that's honestly probably for the best. I'm kind of old-fashioned. I mean, did I enjoy this movie? Yeah, sure. It was a ride. It wasn't supervillain with a death ray, but there are nanorobots in this, so that's kind of kooky enough. Overall, yeah, pretty not bad. Not amazing, but pretty not bad. If I had to put a score on this movie, I guess I would give it a 7. I mean, it's not a fantastic movie, but it's certainly better than what we've been getting. If I had to describe No Time to Die, I would say that it wraps up the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, which isn't a great gift, but it's some really nice wrapping paper and a pretty bow. Again, I haven't seen Spectre. I don't know if I will, but I don't know, I probably will. For all I know, Spectre could be even better than this movie. As spy movies have become more grounded in reality, they've become more boring, and this one is clearly trying to remain somewhat bombastic. Like, they forgot what fun is. That supervillain with the space laser, yeah, it was corny, but it was fun. And No Time to Die scratches the itch just a little bit. It's on the line, it's trying, and it kinda works. My advice, if you're into James Bond, or at least the James Bond movies that I'm into, definitely check this one out. Because in terms of Craig movies, this one is leaps and bounds ahead of all of the other ones. I, for one, am just glad that James Bond seems to finally be trying to get his shit together. And you know what? If the next one is even better, that works for me.
Well, since D&D is over and we're all kind of in a Bond mood, you want to play GoldenEye?
GoldenEye fucking sucks.
Oh my god, Hunter.
Oh, fight me! I said it! GoldenEye sucks! Everything or Nothing is way better than that crap!
There once was a guy who created a machine, a thing that would take people to and from some other world. And when he arrived, he had run into a pony who smiled and decided that they both should go see a film. When that movie sucked, they decided to join forces, and then they created a new show called Hunter Reviews.